Hello, moving right along. Principle number 6. Try to get other people to talk about themselves. Again, this was the principle we introduced a couple modules ago with the form. You'll find that form thing pops up all over the place, but it's very important. They want to talk about themselves and you want to let them. And then it's important to listen actively. Again, if you're taking the right attitude about this, you're doing something very differently than most people do in their personal reactions. Usually when the other person is talking, most people are sitting there not really listening. They are trying to figure out, when can I work myself back in so I get to talk? Why can I, when they're telling their story, I'm thinking about another one of my stories that makes me look good. And I just can't wait to, when can I get that? Are they going to take a breath so I can slam it in there? If you're doing this the way we were talking about, you want them to talk, and then you're not trying to think about how I can get mine back in, because you realize your story is relatively unimportant. What you're trying to do is let them talk about themselves and then listen so you can make notes in your head about what they actually said and how that might be useful for you later to understand what they really want. And so whether you're in sales or just trying to help people, you got to know what's important to them, and that's how you will do it. So listen twice as much. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You should be listening twice as much as you talk. And actually, it's probably more. You should have 4 ears. You should listen a lot more than what you talk. And so active listening is paying attention. Now, really focus on what they are saying, and compartmentalizing it will help you remember it in the future. Because I can't tell you how powerful it is when you call them 2 months later and you say, oh, by the way, I saw a sale on fishing equipment, and I thought of that when you told me about your 28-inch walleye that you caught, and and you mentioned the type of fishing rod and whatnot and lure that you used. Oddly enough, at Cabela's in Green Bay, I just happened to see that, and it was on sale, and I thought I'd mention that to you in case you wanted to buy another one. And the fact that you remembered something from 2 months ago, and you remember their wife's name or their daughter's, in Girl Scouts, or all of that stuff, that is gold. That is going to get them to really like you. And we've said that before, that's very important. Number 7. Again, this is a little bit repetitious here. 7 is talk about the interests of other people versus yourself. So once you know from the previous thing, you know what they are interested in, even if you're really not, you want to make sure you talk about what they are interested in. If they are not into fishing and you love fishing, don't talk about fishing. Talk about what they were interested in. And that's how you warm them up. That's how you, and again, the form thing is real useful. But again, now that you know what they're interested in, it's important. The only real addition is a principle to the previous things is actually use that now. Talk about it. Bring it up. Study what they're interested in, and then feed that back to them. So that's why we were listening so carefully and setting up the conversation, is for that purpose. Finally, and this is the last of the basic principles here, you want to make people feel really important. And the reason, they are important. And they want to feel that way, and you want to treat them that way. They are important. And like we said earlier, from an ego standpoint, they are the most important person in the world. That's just what they are. Famous story years ago about Shakespeare was once asked why he was such a good screenwriter. or storyteller. And his response was surprising. It wasn't that I went to the best schools and I did this and I was really good at. No, his statement, why he said he was so effective, was because he wrote his plays where every character, from the king to the lowest slave or peasant in the story, every person's character was written with dialogue that indicated that they thought they were the most important person in the play. So in the play Hamlet, Hamlet isn't the main feature. The court jester is the main character in the play Hamlet from the point of view of that character. And I thought that was a perfect example of the ego thing. It's a recognition. And if you see the world that way, it'll help you enormously in understanding why people do what they do and why they do or don't do what you wanted them to do. They want to feel not only important, but appreciated. So say, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate the fact you went out of your way to show up, to be here on time. That's a big deal to me. I love people who are on time. So give them something. Look, again, it's going back to looking for things that they're doing right, as opposed to what most people do is finding things that were wrong. So reward what's right rather than punish people for what's wrong. That's a very important thing, will help to make people feel important. And this goes back to earlier phrase, give them what they want. And not once in a while, all the time. It's like the shower analogy. You got to do it every day. It's not something you do once and, wow, now they're going to like me and I can now talk about myself from now on. No, this is an all day, every day, 24/7. This is your thought process. Golden rule principle. Treat people like you want to be treated. You've been taught that probably by your parents, Sunday school, whatever. And not just the important people, but everybody should be treated this way. And lastly, kind of a summary of all the principles here. Avoid the 3 C's. Honest appreciation. Be genuinely interested. Smile a lot. Remember their name. Encourage them to talk about themselves. Talk to them in terms of their interests and what will benefit them as opposed to what's in your interest. And finally, make them feel important. You should write all this down on the old infamous 3x5 card. Stick it in your pocket and carry it around till it has become part of you. When it is, you are powerful. You are going to be amazing. People will notice the difference at work. People will notice the difference in your behavior at home. Your friends will notice. Everything. Practice on everybody. That sounds a little disingenuous here. I'm practicing being a nice person. But again, remember, fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. Eventually, you will be a nice person. I'm only kidding. You're probably already a nice person.